The gods in the celestial realm, born with the form of two humans already suffering, yet still had to enter into this sea of suffering. In Buddhism, this is because they are lost in the human realm and forget their origin. Perhaps that's why they forget what bitterness they themselves are going through. Life is a sea of suffering. When there is a human spirit, he will have 8 sufferings: birth, aging, sickness, death, separation from loved ones, unfulfilled desires, prolonged resentment, and the exhaustion of the searching spirit. The Buddha also based his teachings on the characteristics of the people of that time. Apart from the 8 sufferings mentioned above, modern humans face many additional sufferings under the pressures of life. Studying is suffering, dropping out is also suffering. Suffering from the scourge of natural disasters, suffering from epidemics, even suffering from tobacco addiction, addiction to intoxication, addiction to watching movies, addiction to social. So after 2,500 years, today's society has become extremely complex. Human beings no longer only have 8 sufferings, but may already have 10 or even 18 sufferings. Almost everyone can list many of their own sufferings in life. Upon reflection, it is easy to see. Life is truly a sea of sorrow. Someone once wondered, other things might be understandable, but why is it that being born is already suffering? For a small, beautiful being like an angel, what sin could there be? Human beings are fallen from the upper realm, meaning they have descended from a high, beautiful, and splendid realm to the human world. So even though the child in that body didn't know anything at the time, but perhaps its soul felt it had fallen into an eternal sea of suffering, and so it began to cry. Surely you are all familiar with the famous Journey to the West. The biography of the Master and his 3 disciples named in the work is itself the most typical example of this perspective. This is the second disciple of Buddha named Golden Cicada. Because while listening to the Buddha preach the Dharma, I suddenly felt my leg go numb, and it began to itch. It had begun to itch, and it began to itch. The slow-witted one was named Golden Cicada, because while listening to the Tathagata preach, he owes off and eyed. Should be banished to the human realm, cultivating through 9 lifetimes. From the 10th generation onward, they have suffered since birth. Finally, he set foot on the path of spiritual cultivation, taking the name Pangmo, continued to go through 81 more tribulations before returning to the Buddha realm. Do you think that just nodding off is why you got such a heavy penalty? Is it out of compassion or something? However, we may not have realized one thing. That one cannot use human standards to measure the criteria of higher levels. The Buddha is the one who created the Buddhist realm, saving humanity from the sea of suffering. Along with that, he was reluctant to teach the Dharma so that all sentient beings could attain the Dharma and exist eternally, no longer having to enter the cycle of reincarnation, nor the suffering of human life in the mortal world. Therefore, all living beings in that world are extremely reverent towards the Buddha. Yet some people dozed off, which in the eyes of the gods is an act of great disrespect to the Buddha. The Buddha's law brings such great blessings. How can the Son of Heaven today doze off? The mind contains 2 things: arrogance and contempt for the teachings of the Buddha. In that realm, that level certainly does not allow the existence of such evil intentions. Therefore, the Golden Emperor must be banished to the human world. The second character to be banished to the mortal world was Sun Wukong, for violating heavenly law by wreaking havoc in the celestial palace. His nature was still simple and honest. He would not retaliate when others hit him, and when scolded, he would listen as if he hadn't. Yet, after learning the 72 transformations and gaining his powers, Wukong's temperament completely changed. He proclaimed himself a great sage equal to heaven, refusing to submit to the Jade Emperor and even attempting to overthrow the celestial. The result was being cast down to the mortal realm by the Buddha and imprisoned beneath the 5 Elements mountain, especially when they went to fetch the scriptures and reached the Liaosha River. Zhu Baji asked Wukong why he didn't help the Tanglong fly across the river and insisted on flying her own. Master's body is that of a mortal, heavy as Mount Tai. I cannot carry it across. Perhaps when one is cast down into the mortal realm, the body is suppressed by the 5 elements. No matter how great one's abilities are above, once they enter a human body, they become very weak. In the past, even thousands of heavenly troops couldn't subdue the great sage, yet later a mere minor demon managed to wound him. When it comes to Zubaji, we are no stranger to this former marshal of the heavenly canopy, who possesses 36 transformations and is prone to making mistakes and causing trouble. I never expected you to aim at yourself, giving rise to lustful thoughts and harassing Chang'e, thus being banished to the mortal realm to become a pig. In the past, lust was always considered the foremost of all sins. In the celestial realm, lust is a fundamental impurity that cannot exist there. Therefore, even the heavenly general Tianping Marshal could not avoid punishment, being reincarnated as a pig and shunned by the world. Finally, there is Wu Jing, formerly the curtain-raising general, responsible for guarding the Jade Emperor, who was banished to the Liao River as a monster for breaking a jade cup while drunk. Like Jin Chanzi, some wonder why breaking just one jade cup would warrant such severe banishment instead of simply replacing it. On the surface, it was just a broken cup, but the root cause was explained by the Bodhisattva through the name Wujing. How chaotic must the mind of a celestial being with vast supernatural powers be if they cannot even hold a wine cup steady? In the human world, people also greatly need the quality of stillness. Only with calmness can one have clear wisdom to handle matters well. Through the story of Tang Sanzang and his 4 disciples, it can be seen that Buddhism believes humans originally have good roots, but were demoted to the human realm for violating celestial laws. The 4 master and disciples represent 4 groups of people in the world with different ways of violating celestial laws, so their foundations, capabilities, abilities, and temperaments are completely different. Scriptures record that within the 3 realms, human life has a predetermined lifespan. Some lasting 300 years, some 500 years, and some spanning thousands of years. When their lifespan ends, they must enter the 6th paths of reincarnation, being reborn in the lower realms. Similarly, when humans die, they descend to the lower realm of hell. There, based on records of virtue and karma, they are assigned their next rebirth. Thus, it can be said that humans are formed from the reincarnation of higher-level beings, or good people who pass review in the underworld and are reborn again. This explains why newborns cry upon entering this world full of suffering. If someone living in luxury with endless wealth suddenly gets demoted to a street sweeper, without enough money for food or clothes, worrying about each meal, you can imagine how they would feel. Faced with such sudden change, initially they would be overwhelmed and find it hard to accept. So we need time to adapt to the human realm. Returning to Sun Wukong's story, although not completely stripped of powers like Tang Sanzang, he still suffered greatly from having his abilities restricted and not being able to fully utilize his talents. He suffered from Tang Sanzang's suspicions even when his actions were correct. Meanwhile, legends speak of a flower called the saintly bitter spirit flower. Among all living beings in the world, only humans are permitted to cultivate and become Buddhas or deities. And those in suffering still do not lose their sincere and kind nature. A person who tastes all the bitterness and suffering in the world, it maintains a virtuous heart, will transform all that suffering into an extremely precious flower. Regarding a being's reincarnation, when facing suffering, it can take 2 paths. One is to resist suffering, harbor resentment and hatred, then commit every evil deed possible. Ultimately, that being must face retribution. At that point, even their divine form will be lost. The other is that despite living in suffering, the being abandons evil, turns toward goodness, and stands for righteousness. Then one day when opportunity arises, they enter the path, attain the Dharma, and return to the divine. The only fear is that once accustomed to human life, they no longer feel suffering, and thus no longer wish to cultivate to return to that originally beautiful place. Therefore, each of us should remember that there is a beautiful realm we need to cultivate to return to. For you, is the suffering you're experiencing enough to escape this deluded realm? Boldly share your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to the Dark Truth Files channel and turn on notifications so you don't. For now, Viet Quan says goodbye and wishes everyone health and safety during